Hi, what's up? It's the Malt activist, and today I have a burning question that I need to resolve. People have been asking me for years, and this is a question and a debate that's divided the whiskey industry into friends and enemies. And I get asked this question every single day of my life. Do you want to know what that is? They want to know, is the Macallan 10 Sherry Oak better than the Macallan 12 Sherry Oak? Okay, I'll be honest, no one's ever asked me that. But I had these two bottles lying around and I was like, hey, let's make a comparison video because I get the most views on comparison videos for some reason. The YouTube algorithm thinks if you compare shit, you'll become famous faster. So here I am, comparing shit. Okay, number one, the Macallan 10. Now, there's an interesting literature on the labels here, okay? I'll zoom in on this so you can read. It says Macallan, 10 years old, exclusively matured in selected sherry oak casks from Jerez, Spain. Okay? And on the back, this legendary single malt is exclusively matured in selected sherry oak casks from Jerez, Spain for a minimum of 10 years. This results in a satisfyingly rich and complex single malt. Does it? Well, we'll be the judge of that. Now compare this to the label on the 12-year-old, where it says matured exclusively in hand-picked sherry seasoned oak casks from Jerez, Spain for richness and complexity. And then on the back it says something similar. The sherry seasoned oak cask delivers a rich and complex single malt characterized by spice and dried fruit flavors. Again, we'll be the judge of that. Now, why the difference? Why does one label say matured in sherry oak casks and the other one says sherry seasoned oak casks? Well, there's a slight difference. See, what used to happen before is sherry used to be stored. This is like ready to bottle sherry, ready to drink sherry, right? And it's been completely matured and it's just ready to be drunk. Used to be sold in oak barrels, right? So the sherry would be put in the barrels and then it would be sent to different parts of the world, and especially Scotland. And then what they'd do is they would empty the sherry there and they would use the sherry oak casks, right? Which had proper sherry in it. And then they would use that to mature their whiskeys. However, in 1981, the Spanish government said, bollocks, no one is going to export any more sherry oak casks from here. Basically told everyone to fuck off. And that's when the Scots went, holy shit, what do we do? Especially the likes of Macallan and Glendronach and all Glengoyne and all other distilleries that were maturing their spirits exclusively in sherry casks. So they came up with an idea. And that idea was sherry seasoned casks. And the difference is they would make their barrels or casks from, let's say, American oak, QA, Quercus alba, and then take them to Jerez, Spain, put sherry in it for a few months, maybe a year. Sometimes they say 2 years, sometimes they say 5 years. I highly doubt they're letting sherry stay in there for that long. It's for a few months. They season the wood with it, and they throw the sherry out, and then they take those barrels back with them to Scotland and mature their whiskeys in it. Now the thing is, this is not ready to drink sherry. This is sherry that goes into making sherry vinegar or something else, right? Not proper drinking, tasting sherry. And I think that's a huge problem now with sherry matured whiskeys today. Is you had whiskeys in the past that were matured exclusively in sherry oak casks that held proper, delicious, ready to bottle, ready to drink sherry. And now you're just seasoning the wood so you can get the elements of the sherry into your whiskey. And I think that's a huge difference. And I think that's also the reason you get these tainted casks with sulfur. Overall low quality sherried whiskeys, in my opinion. Now, if you compare sherried whiskeys from back in the 70s and the 80s, there is a massive, massive difference in taste, in quality. And that's so obvious when you compare it to these newer sherried whiskeys that have this meaty funk to them, or sulfur, both things that I'm not a huge fan of. So let's see what this 10 and 12 are all about. So I am for now going to assume that the Macallan 10 sherry oak has been matured in proper sherry oaks and not seasoned sherry casks. Otherwise, they would have written it on the label. And the 12 is very, very specifically seasoned sherry casks. And I bought this 10, maybe it's like 7 years ago. And I think they were still producing it at the time. And so it was quite cheap. It was like 40, 50 pounds at that time. And now when I was doing the research, this thing is like 300 pounds plus, a bottle of this. So I wish I had known. I have no idea. Okay, number 1, Macallan 10 sherry oak. Right, this is what it looks like. Oh, you're thinking about color. I don't know. My guess is as good as yours. It does not say on the label. No coloring added. It does not say that. Does that mean we're to assume that there is coloring added? Okay, it doesn't matter to me. It's just, I guess it's aesthetics for now. Color or no color, this is what it looks like in the bottle. This is the Macallan 10 sherry oak. Very woody, very chocolatey, dark chocolate, salty. Yes, very rum cake, Christmas cake. Lots of spices, cinnamon, nutmeg. So just a very standard flavor profile. Not bad. But I do get that meaty funk in here. Though some people like that. I have a friend of mine who really likes that meaty funk in his whiskeys. I personally don't. I prefer my sherried whiskeys to be more crisp and on the sweeter side. Quite malty. Autumn leaves. Potpourri. Oh yeah, and this is bottled at 40%. They're both bottled at 40%. Is there a hint of sulfur in there? I don't know. I always have this preconceived notion of when I see a sherried whiskey, I'm like, there has to be some sulfur in this. Otherwise, what's the point? I can never anticipate a sulfur-free whiskey experience when it comes to sherried whiskeys. So sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. But if there is any kind of sulfur in this, I think it's very, very, very minimal. Look, I think this is a decent nose. It's nothing extraordinary. I remember it being much worse when I drank it a long time ago. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Okay. Quite unremarkable. Not bad. Again, not bad. Not bad at all. Not bad. Good? I don't know. Good is debatable, but it's certainly not bad. That's not debatable. Quite thin. Quite thin on the palate. I would have expected it to be a little more lush, a little heavier on the body. But that's okay. I can kind of live with that. Palate was a little one-dimensional in my opinion. It had the usual. It had the chocolate. It had the cinnamons. It had the spices. Maybe a hint of old leather and oak towards the end. Finish is quite decent. Not bad for a 40%. So not bad. It has an age statement. It's 10 years old. I think it does the job. Maybe far too thin on the palate. I thought I could get behind it, but I'm not. So I'm gonna reduce marks for it being too thin. I think it really needs to be at least medium, medium in body and delivery, but it's not. It's not bad, so I'm putting it in the very sort of average range. It has the name Macallan attached to it, and hence it comes with baggage. And I spoke about this in my last video, that is it fair to brand something that high and that prestigious, you know, as the Rolls Royce of whiskeys, and that tag then follows you like a bad STD for the rest of your life, and you can't shake it off. And now you're constantly being judged by that accolade. So I don't know. I'm getting that meaty funk, slightly sulfury note. So that's my take on the 10-year-old sherry oak. Like I said, it's quite unremarkable, average at best. I'm okay to drink it. Like I said, towards the end, I got some meaty funk, sulfury aftertaste, which leads me to believe that this is not proper sherry oak casks that have been used to mature this. There's something going on that I think is slightly tainted this whiskey. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's all right. Okay. Time for the 12-year-old sherry oak. This one is pretty recent. I mean, it's a recent release, which means the spirit was probably distilled around 2007, 2006, and then bottled 18, 19, and then I got my hands on this maybe 8 months ago, a year ago. And I can immediately tell the difference, right? So, compare colors. See that. Let's see that. The 10, which is in my right hand, is a smidge darker than the 12, which is in my left. So that should say something. This is a lot more fuller and spice forward, so a lot more cinnamon, woody oak, or leather, dark chocolate with a hint of salted caramel, whereas this 12, much thinner on the nose, hints of acetone, like a woody varnish, which is not a good thing for a good sherried whiskey. Wow, so thin, just on the nose it's so thin. Hard for me to discern any major flavors here. Maybe some caramel, maybe some chocolate. Similar flavor profile as the 10, but in a diluted way. And definitely hints of sulfur. So, yes, unmistakably seasoned sherry casks, not authentic sherry casks. I don't like the nose. It's not even average. Wow, very underwhelming. Extremely thin on the palate. Hardly any flavors to discern. Like a chocolate sweetness. Some hints of spice. The wood, oak, leather is almost not there. I like that in a good sherried whiskey, but since this is not a good sherried whiskey, yeah. Wow, this is really bad compared to the 10-year-old. So while the 10-year-old is average with its flaws, this 12-year-old is pretty much a disaster as far as I'm concerned. This is not a good whiskey and not worth the price tag. Wow. Yeah, there's definitely like sulfur elements in here, which I don't like. And I'm guessing this is like about 60-70 pounds, if not more, in the market. So I think there's better whiskeys out there than this 12. The 10 is discontinued. Maybe for 40 pounds it's not a bad whiskey, but definitely not for the prices that they're asking for now. It's certainly not a relic or an icon that you should shell out big bucks for. If you want to find sherried whiskeys that were phenomenal, I think go back go back to the 90s. Yeah, let's go back to the 90s when they still had authentic sherry casks to use. These two whiskeys certainly aren't very good examples of sherry matured whiskeys. The 10 better than the 12, but who cares? Yeah. So thank you for joining me for this little head-to-head. I'm the Malt Activist. Until next time, peace.